Let's take a look at Universal Design for Learning. Universal Design for Learning is a framework for designing learning activities. It's not just a one and done activity, and implementing a couple strategies isn't a magic bullet solution. It starts with these three key beliefs. First, a belief that all learners vary and will always be diverse in their needs. Therefore, a one-size-fits-all approach is not going to work. Second, when designing a lesson or professional learning experience, you construct a firm learning goal with flexible means of meeting those goals in mind. You recognize that students can reach those goals in a variety of ways. And third, a belief that our North Star as educators is to build students to be expert learners that will continue beyond our K-12 education. We hope that they'll be purposeful and motivated, resourceful and knowledgeable, and strategic and goal-directed. When you're looking at firm goals and flexible means, let's dive into this when you're building a learning activity. You can create a learning goal that does not state how that learner will show evidence or how they will get there. Saying a student will summarize the key points of a story they read in a written paragraph is a very limiting goal. However, creating a more open but firm goal would be saying students will summarize the key points of a story. That way you can keep your methods and materials and assessments more flexible. Say maybe as a method they're going to listen to the story, or they're going to watch a video of a story, or they're going to read a story. And then as their assessment, you can ask them to tell you the key points of the story or dictate it into a video or an online program, or write it if you would prefer, or if they would prefer. A way to kind of dig into this a little bit deeper as a resource is this wonderful book that is free. It's an ebook online. And on chapter 6, they go through lesson design of activities with firm goals and flexible means. This comes from the Universal Design for Learning Theory and Practice book. And again, it's free with a free login online. I love analogies. I also happen to love nachos, and analogies help me understand bigger concepts. So my analogy for Universal Design for Learning is similar to when I go to a restaurant or a party and someone sets down a plate of nachos that are already built. I know that they're maybe going to be enjoyable, but I might have an allergy to one of the toppings. I may not like one of those toppings. And so another method would be similar to Universal Design for Learning is offering a nacho buffet. And that allows me to be flexible with my meeting the goal of that wonderful plate of nachos. I can select the toppings, I can select what type of chips I want, and that's a more flexible way to still meet that goal. So when we think of that in the classroom, when we're building with Universal Design for Learning in mind, we're providing the flexibility with the firm goals still in mind. The CAST organization has created UDL Guidelines to help support teachers with looking at strategies of how they could implement this in the classroom. Let's take a look at how these Universal Design for Learning guidelines are set up. We're actually going to start at the bottom. At the bottom is our overarching goal, where we want our students to eventually be purposeful and motivated, resourceful and knowledgeable, and strategic and goal-directed. Now, the way that you look at this is not in a linear fashion. We don't start top to bottom, one square at a time. Instead, you can, through the course of a student's experience in K through 12, hopefully hit all of these somewhere along the line. But when you're designing your lessons, you can use this thought intentionally as you design. Through brain research, they have found these three areas and these three principles for Universal Design for Learning. We want to represent the content in multiple ways. We want to engage our learners in multiple ways, and we want to allow them to express themselves in multiple ways. They then further break it down into 9 guidelines, and that allows us to break apart the concepts of how you would provide multiple means of engagement, representation, and action and expression. And then within that, the CAST organization provides strategies. And in the interactive UDL guidelines link at the top, when you go to this webpage, you can click on each of those strategies to see examples of how you would use that in a classroom or in a professional learning activity. If you learn better through video, there is a link at the bottom for video explanations for each of those different guidelines. When we're thinking about professional learning, one of the quotes from the book, UDL and Blended Learning, states that as instructional leaders, administrators have an amazing opportunity, but I would like to say that we all have an amazing opportunity to model universally designed learning experiences, not only in the classroom, but to also empower staff and foster collaboration and community. So when you're thinking about professional learning and you do it with a UDL framework in mind, that allows teachers, educators to see how it could be done in the classroom. I hope this overview has helped you not only learn more about universal design for learning in the classroom, but how it could extend to professional learning.